Nora hated arrogant men. She always had. The kind who walked like they owned the room, spoke like everyone was dying to listen, and smiled like they knew all your secrets. So, naturally, she didn't expect to feel anything but annoyance the day he stepped into the rooftop bar where she was sipping her wine alone. He was tall, dark, and distracting, utterly the kind of man she would roll her eyes at. He didn't even hesitate when he approached, like he'd already decided she was his next conquest. That damn smile, lazy and dangerous, curled on his lips as he stopped right in front of her table. "You always look this bored, or am I just early to the rescue?" he asked, voice low and warm. Nora raised an eyebrow. "Do you always try that hard? Or is this just for me?" He chuckled, sliding into the seat across from her without permission. "Only when it's worth it." She should have stood up. She should have told him off, but for reasons she didn't care to explore, she stayed. Maybe it was the way his eyes didn't just look at her, they read her. Like he knew she wasn't just some cold beauty in a red dress. Maybe it was because deep down, she liked the game more than she let on. "I'm Damon," he said. She let the silence linger before answering. "Nora." Damon nodded, sipping the drink the waiter had clearly brought him before he sat down. "So, Nora, what do you do when you're not breaking hearts with one look?" Nora laughed, just a soft breath through her lips, but it was real. "I don't break hearts. I ignore them." He leaned forward, elbows on the table, his voice lower now. "Then ignore me." It wasn't a dare. It was an invitation. And God, help her. Her body responded before her mind did. A little flutter in her chest, a shift in her breath. She leaned forward too, mirroring him without realizing. "I don't like men like you," she whispered, almost teasing. "Then it's a good thing I'm not like them." The air between them tightened. A breeze swept through the rooftop, but neither moved. Her fingers brushed the stem of her glass, and his eyes tracked the movement like it meant something deeper. She didn't believe in chemistry this strong. She thought it was something books exaggerated and movies dramatized. But sitting across from Damon, her skin felt too tight. Her lips felt too aware. Then without asking, without warning, he reached out and gently touched her hand. That was it. One soft touch, his thumb grazing the side of her palm, warm and slow, and everything changed. Her breath caught. The world seemed to hush. It wasn't just a touch. It was intentional, tender and bold, slow and knowing. She looked up, meeting his eyes. That arrogant smile was still there, but now it held something else, something softer, deeper. And suddenly, she didn't hate it at all. She didn't say a word as she stood up. He followed without hesitation. The elevator ride was quiet, not awkward, charged. Nora stood with her arms crossed, heart beating faster than she wanted to admit. Damon didn't touch her again, not yet, but she could feel the tension in the space between them. Her skin already remembered the heat of his fingers, and her body, it was waiting. When the doors opened to her apartment floor, she walked ahead, heels clicking, dress swaying. She didn't need to look back. She knew he was behind her. She liked the sound of his steps. Inside, she didn't offer wine, didn't dim the lights, didn't ask questions. She turned, leaned against the door, and waited. Damon closed it gently behind him. He didn't speak, didn't need to. His eyes did enough, dark and sure and slow as they trailed over her. "You should go," she whispered, lips parted, breath catching on every word. "I could," he replied, walking closer. "But you won't mean it." She didn't move when he stopped inches from her. Didn't move when he leaned in, just close enough for his breath to brush her cheek. "I told you I don't like men like you," she murmured, lips brushing his jaw. "And I told you I'm not like them," he said against her ear. His hand came up slowly, fingers brushing her waist. Her dress was silk, barely a whisper between her skin and his. He trailed his fingertips down the side of her hip, then back up. Just once, she shivered. His mouth found the side of her neck, soft at first, then firmer, warmer, more real. She let out a sound that wasn't quite a moan, but close. He kissed her like he was discovering her, like he wasn't in a hurry, like every second was its own moment to savor. And when he finally kissed her lips, God, finally her knees went weak. It wasn't rushed. It wasn't hungry. It was confident, bold, but smooth, firm, but full of worship. He kissed like a man who didn't just want her, he wanted her to feel it. Her hands went to his chest, strong, solid. She tugged his shirt free from his pants, and he didn't stop her. In fact, he made it easier, unbuttoning, sliding it off his shoulders, letting it fall to the floor. Her breath caught. His body was sculpted, yes, but it wasn't just that. It was the way he looked at her. Like she wasn't a woman he met an hour ago. Like he already knew her. Nora's fingers moved up his chest, over the lines of muscle and warmth. She loved how sure he felt under her touch. How still he went when she explored him. Then it was his turn. He took her wrist, pulled her gently away from the door, and spun her slowly, carefully, like she was something delicate and rare. When her back was against his chest, his lips brushed her shoulder, his hands sliding over her hips. He didn't rush to undress her. He enjoyed her, moved with her, and when his hands slipped lower just under the hem of her dress, her body leaned into his, soft and trusting. She had never felt like this, not just desired, not just wanted, worshipped. Every kiss, every stroke, every pause. He wasn't performing. He wasn't showing off. He was giving. Her dress slid off her shoulders, and he caught it before it hit the floor. His hands, warm and open, caressed her sides, her back, her thighs. Like he was learning her. She let him. She wanted him to. Nora had known pleasure before. She'd had flings, slow burns, the quick sparks that faded by morning. But this was nothing like that. This was warmth that started deep in her chest and spilled into every inch of her skin. Damon lifted her gently, carried her across the room without breaking the gaze they shared. Her arms wrapped around his shoulders, lips ghosting over his neck, not from desire alone but from trust. She didn't question how fast this had happened. It felt like it had always been waiting too. The bedroom lights were soft, like the moonlight had crawled in to watch. He set her down with care, not just passion, but reverence. And as he leaned over her, brushing his lips along her collarbone, Nora let her fingers glide through his hair, pulling him closer. Their bodies met like they already knew the rhythm. Like the universe had sketched the memory into their skin before they'd ever touched. His hands mapped her like a secret. No rush. No fumbling. He kissed down her body, slowly pausing when her breath hitched, moving when she arched into him, trembling under his touch. He didn't need to ask what she liked. He felt it, responded to every sigh, every gasp, every whispered plea without words. She opened to him fully, completely, and when he slid inside her, it wasn't fireworks or chaos, it was home. A breath they had both been holding for years, finally released. Their rhythm was slow at first, intimate. Their eyes stayed locked as they moved, sharing everything without needing to speak. Then deeper, bolder, their lips pressed together, their hands holding tighter. It wasn't just about touch. It was understanding, a connection that moved beyond the physical. He murmured her name against her lips like it meant something more, something holy. She cried out softly when he rolled his hips just right, clung to him tighter when he whispered how beautiful she was. Not hot, not sexy, beautiful. Like he saw past skin, into soul. And when she shattered, she did so in silence, eyes wide, body trembling, breath held. Because it wasn't the climax that overwhelmed her. It was how complete she felt. He followed her moments later, groaning low into her neck, his body sinking into hers, chest heaving. But he didn't pull away. He stayed there, wrapped around her, breathing with her, fingers intertwined. He kissed her shoulder, then her jaw, then her temple. I don't want this to be just a night, he whispered. Nora turned to face him fully. Her lips still tingled, her body still hummed, but her heart, that was the loudest thing now. It never was, she whispered. He smiled then, not the arrogant smile from the bar, something softer, realer. They didn't say more, they didn't need to. Nora woke up slowly, like her body already knew there was no need to rush. The morning sunlight slipped through the sheer curtains, casting golden lines across the bed. Warmth clung to her skin, not just from the sunlight, but from the man beside her. Damon. He was still there, still real, still lying next to her, one arm draped over her waist, one hand tangled in her hair. His breathing was soft, steady, peaceful. She didn't move at first, just laid there, staring at the ceiling, wondering when her life had started feeling like a dream. And then his fingers shifted, slid lightly over her stomach. She smiled. Without opening his eyes, he leaned closer, pressing a soft kiss to her bare shoulder. Good morning, firecracker. She turned to face him. Firecracker, he opened one eye lazily, grin spreading. You exploded in my arms last night. What else would I call you? She rolled her eyes, laughing softly. You're so full of yourself. His hand found her cheek, and his thumb brushed lightly along her jaw. Only because you filled me up first. Before she could reply, his lips found hers again, soft this time, almost shy. A kiss that said, "Stay here. Let's forget the world." She melted into him. The kind of kiss you sink into and never want to come back from. Her fingers curled around his wrist, holding him close. Then he shifted, rolling over and pulling her halfway on top of him. "Don't even think about getting up," he murmured. "You're mine for the morning." She laughed into his neck. "Just for the morning?" He ran his hand down her back, slow and deliberate. "I'm trying to sound polite. I want you for much longer." Their legs tangled together beneath the sheets. No awkwardness, no hesitation, just two bodies fitting naturally, as if they'd always been meant to wake up this way. He reached for her again, not demanding, just present. His fingers slid along her hip, his palm resting on the small of her back. She kissed his neck, then his chest, then lower. The morning grew quieter, thicker with heat and unspoken things. He made love to her again, this time slower, more patient. The kind of movement that said, "I'm not going anywhere." She rode the waves of his touch, breathlessly, endlessly. When they were spent, wrapped in sheets and sweat and satisfaction, she rested her head on his chest. His heartbeat was strong, steady. "Do you do this often?" she asked quietly. "No," he said instantly. "You? Never like this." He kissed her hair. "Good, then we'll figure it out together." They didn't get out of bed for hours. The sun rose higher, the city outside came alive. But in that room, time didn't matter. What mattered was his touch, his presence, his promise unspoken, but understood. Days blurred after that first night, but not in the way Nora expected. It wasn't just about passion anymore, it was presence. Damon didn't disappear like a fling. He stayed, he called, he showed up. And when he walked into her apartment every evening, he did it like he belonged there. The mornings started with sleepy kisses and warm bodies wrapped together. No alarms, no rush. Just fingers brushing over bare skin and soft lips saying good morning without needing words. Damon cooked breakfast shirtless, sometimes nothing but a towel slung low on his hips, while Nora leaned against the counter, sipping coffee and pretending not to stare. By noon, they were tangled on the couch, laughing at old movies, legs overlapping, kisses sneaking into every scene change. Even silence felt full with him. At night, he turned her into art. He touched her like she was music, slow, rhythmic, intense. Her body responded before she even thought to speak. He learned her curves the way an artist studies lines, pausing where she trembled, pressing where she moaned. Sometimes it was sweet, other times bold, but always intimate. One afternoon, he knelt in front of her while she sat in a chair, still in her work blouse and nothing else. He looked up at her with that mix of reverence and mischief. "Has anyone ever worshipped you?" he asked, fingers brushing the inside of her thighs. She shook her head, breath catching. "Not like you." He kissed her slowly, then there until her hands clawed the arms of the chair and her cries filled the room like prayer. He never needed permission, but he always gave her control. Every encounter was mutual, every moment unforgettable. They showered together, ate together, slept tangled in the same sheets every night. Not because they had to, but because neither of them wanted to be anywhere else. And it wasn't just physical. Damon learned her routines, her quirks. He kissed the freckle on her shoulder before sleep. He ran his hand over her back when she stretched in the morning. He read her silence, held her when she sighed, knew when to speak and when to simply be. She started bringing a second toothbrush to the sink. He started leaving a shirt on her chair for her to sleep in. And no one said we're together, but their bodies did, their smiles did, their hearts without a single doubt already had. They didn't talk about forever, but every second felt like it. It was the way she whispered at Damon that made him pause in the middle of the hallway, just outside the bedroom. Not because she needed anything, not because she called out in pain, but because she said it like it meant everything. His name wasn't just a name anymore, it had become a feeling, a sigh, a song on her lips, soft and breathless. He turned slowly, and there she was leaning against the doorframe, one of his shirts hanging loosely over her thighs, nothing underneath. Her hair was messy from sleep, but her eyes, God, those eyes glowed with warmth, curiosity, and something deeper. He walked back toward her, slow and sure. She didn't move, just smiled like she'd been waiting. When he reached her, she tilted, her head brushing her fingers along his jawline. "I like saying your name." He kissed her cheek first, then her ear. "Then say it again." Damon. He didn't let her finish. His lips crashed against hers, soft, hungry, bold. Like her voice had triggered something primal in him. His hands wrapped around her waist, pulling her tight against his bare chest. The heat between them rose instantly. Nora gasped as he lifted her effortlessly, pressing her back against the wall, the cool surface behind her, a stark contrast to his burning skin. She clung to him, legs around his waist, her lips parting for his without hesitation. He whispered her name now, Nora. Once against her neck, again against her shoulder, and once more as he slipped inside her, slow and deep. They moved like water, like something natural and unstoppable. Every thrust was intimate, not fast, not wild, just deep, connected. Her back arched, her head fell back, and she whispered his name over and over, like it was all she knew, all she wanted to remember. He kissed her with every stroke, held her tighter when she moaned, murmured promises between breaths, not of forever, but of now, and now was everything. After, he carried her to the bed and laid beside her, their bodies still humming from the aftershock. She curled into his arms, her head on his chest, her fingers tracing lazy lines on his skin. "Do you like when I say your name?" she asked, already knowing the answer. He chuckled softly, pressing a kiss into her hair. "You could say it while ordering coffee and I'd get turned on." She laughed, cheeks flushed. "Damon," he groaned, rolling on top of her, smiling wide. "See? Dangerous." Her smile faded into something softer. She reached up, touching his face. "I love the way you make me feel," she whispered. He leaned down, brushing his lips over hers. "Then let me do it again, and again, until it's the only feeling you remember." And so he did. They stayed in bed long after the sunset, whispering names, sharing secrets, losing themselves in one another, again and again, until even silence couldn't come between them. Nora had never been the kind of woman who fantasized about forever. She believed in moments, intense, fleeting, beautiful, but not permanence, not happily ever afters. That felt like a dream designed for other people. Until Damon. He didn't ask for promises. He didn't shower her with grand declarations. He simply stayed. Through every morning stretch, every late night craving, every long silence where nothing needed to be said, he became part of her days. One morning, he walked into the kitchen, shirtless, towels still low on his hips, rubbing his damp hair with another. Nora stood there in one of his t-shirts, coffee in hand, watching him, and something inside her clicked. Not lust, not desire, not even the electric fire he always stirred in her belly. It was softer. It was peace. He looked up and saw her watching him. His smile was lazy, crooked. "What?" She shook her head, breath catching a little. "Nothing. Just you." He walked over, cupped her face and kissed her forehead. "You're looking at me like I did something right." "You did," she whispered. He paused, eyes searching hers. "Tell me." She smiled, eyes misting. "You made me believe in forever." Damon froze for a moment, then exhaled, like he'd been holding something in for too long. He didn't say anything at first, just kissed her deeply, slowly, fully. Then, as his arms wrapped around her waist, he murmured into her ear, "Then stay forever." No ring. And no speech, just truth. That night, he cooked dinner while she danced barefoot in the kitchen. Her laughter echoed down the hall. He stole kisses while stirring pasta. She bit his lip in between sips of wine. And when they made love, it wasn't fire, it was gravity. A silent promise. A union far deeper than skin. They didn't rush. They moved slow, breathing in each other, holding every second like it would last a lifetime. Afterward, Nora curled into his chest, cheek resting where his heartbeat lived. "I used to think love was meant to hurt," she said softly, "that it had to come with chaos, or distance, or fear." Damon tightened his arms around her. "But it doesn't." "No," she said, "it doesn't." He tilted her chin, kissed her slowly. "Love should feel like this, like home." He nodded. Then they slept. No alarms set, no need for plans, just bodies tangled in warmth and hearts finally settled. Nora didn't need forever to be a promise. She already felt it in his arms. The end.